Hello everyone, and thank you so much for joining us for episode 2 of The Business of Books. As always, please make sure you check out Kashay's portion of this collaborated video series and tune in for the workshop this Sunday. Whenever we start these topics, they're always meant to be a jumping off point for a broader discussion and more specific advice. We want to give you tools and inspiration for helping you to move forward on your author journey. So with that being said, let's take it back a step to starting as a writer. It only felt appropriate to cover this as you can't very well be an author if you're not a writer first. Now, last episode, we talked a little bit about what the difference between those two terms are and where everyone puts their individual line in the sand, because it is a line in the sand. The transition from writer to author is less one of practicality and more one of mindset. By now, if you're checking us out, odds are you've been writing for a little while, and you might have a firmly established writing routine. You might have no writing routine, and you might believe you know exactly what works the best for you. I would ask you to question that. As you begin to transition from the title of writer to author, more than ever, balance is going to be a core part of your writing routine. Whether you measure your progress in thinking through difficult plot holes, word counts, pages written or edited, or just hours in front of a computer, you need to be honest with yourself about the amount of time and energy you have to devote to your writing. I'm not going to get too much into the specifics here because my own writing routine varies quite a lot. Grad school. And quite frankly, if you wanted to see a bunch of different writing routines, our own Cavanaugh has pretty much got you covered there. Drafting is another area where a lot of writers differ. Some people just do one draft. I don't know any of them in person, but some do. Most of us take a couple of bites at the apple before we manage to get it right. Cavanaugh does 0 drafts. I do half drafts, which are basically elaborated outlines. If you wanted to go into more details about the planning and drafting process, I have actually covered this before in another video that I will link down below and up in the cards. More than writers, I'd say that most of us are readers first. And if you're writing in a particular genre, I would encourage you to try and read as much as you can in that genre. As you're reading, keep in mind the things that you love about a story, the things that you love about the way someone writes, and almost as importantly, the parts you hate. Again, I've talked about this before, but in a rather unorganized rant about fanfiction, which I'll link below. As I mentioned before, as you make your transition from writer to author, balance is going to be crucial. And you can't just include drafting time when you're trying to create balance. You need to include it all. Drafting, editing, writing, brainstorming, and reading. Pull together the amount of time that you spend doing all of these activities in a given week. Be honest with yourself about how much time you're spending doing each given activity. I would say create reasonable goals, but people always tend to either severely over or undershoot their goals. So instead, create a budget. If you have an hour a day on weekdays and 2 hours a day on the weekends, or 20 minutes a day on weekdays and 2 hours on Saturday, but no time on Sunday. Create a budget for the amount of time that you want to spend, and then figure out how you want to best use that time. Other than balance, there are a couple of other things I want you to keep in mind as you're working towards your writing, and they are your purpose, your identity, and your brand. Because believe it or not, they're the same thing. The Wheezy Waiter described it best when he was talking about YouTube creators, so I will link his video down below. And it is honestly one of the things that helped me the most when I was trying to figure out how to represent the nerdy nanny online. It's also one of the top 3 questions I wanted you guys to ask yourselves before you started trying to become an author. Why are you doing this? When you have a purpose in mind, you have something to fall back on. You have a reason to keep going when it gets hard, and something to center your thoughts and your ideas around. If your why is to bring this story to the world, make that your identity and build a brand around it. If you want to create kids literature, if you want to create affordable kids stories that teach a lesson or emphasize an interest in STEM, build your brand around that. Case in point. I'm not going to go too much further into this because a lot of this we will cover in the following episode about where to start as an author. But it is something I want you to start thinking about now. Think about why you're doing this, about what you want to represent, and then you can start to figure out how to present that to the world. We'll help you along with all the rest of those steps, so just stay tuned next month for our following workshop. Because our workshop is actually 2 days away, as in a full 2 days between now and the workshop, I don't feel bad assigning you a little bit of homework. Don't be scared. Don't freak out. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fine, okay? It's just a couple of simple questions to help you focus on what's important and where you want to take it. I'll leave the link for that down below. It is, of course, completely voluntary. You don't have to submit. You don't ever have to tell us what you wrote down. But if you do feel like sharing, I'll talk to you on Sunday. Until then, may the words be in your favor, and take care of yourselves.